Hello, everyone. So today we are going to be explaining what trauma is to my client, Charnice, and just a little bit about her background. She is 13 years old and she was separated at the border while her and her mother were trying to cross over. And as you all may know, there's been detention centers that have been placed around the Texas and the border areas. And so Charnice has been an unfortunate individual who has been placed in one of these detention centers. So Charnice has expressed to me in our first session that she felt scared and that she did not know what was going on or what they were going to do to her. And many nights she felt cold because the blankets that were given to them were not even blankets. Okay, so hello, Charnice. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing okay.
All right. So for today's session, I want to go ahead and just talk to you and give you a little bit of education on what trauma is. By any chance, do you know what trauma is?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to break this down to you, and if there's something that you don't understand, please feel free to interrupt me and ask any questions you might have, okay?
Okay.
So trauma is when someone, whether an adult or a child as yourself, has been exposed to traumatic events or traumatic situations. Okay? When a child has been exposed to certain situations where they may feel fear for their life, where they may feel that somebody's going to cause some kind of injury to them, where they've been witness to some kind of violence, or you've lost a loved one, for example. Okay? And during this time, and even after, you may experience not being able to understand your emotions and worse, how to control them. Okay.
Okay.
So why don't we go ahead and look at some type of situations that you have mentioned in our last session, which by definition is considered trauma. Okay, is that okay with you?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, so I'm glad that you want to take control by wanting to understand what it is that you've experienced. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
before you were taken away from your mother at the border, okay, how would you describe that you felt before
Um,
experience?
I would say we were pretty happy. I was happy because I was with my mom, even though where we were living wasn't necessarily a good place. I was happy that I was with her.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you an image. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is just to portray to get a better idea of the emotion that you might have felt or describe how you were feeling. Okay.
Hmm.
Now this here, would you say this describes what you just mentioned to me?
Yes, looked happy.
Looks happy, right? Okay. So I want to explain to you a term that's called flight or fight. Okay.
Okay.
You know what this term means?
No, never heard it.
Okay. So fight or flight means when something reminds you of the negative experience that you've had, and in that moment you feel like you just either need to run away or resist with force. Okay, like maybe you can start screaming or crying uncontrollably because something reminded you of what you've been through. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of the times this here, our happiness, is covered by something like this. Okay, this is a costume of a dinosaur. Okay,
Okay.
so whenever you begin to feel scared or you begin to feel something that you've never felt before, this here dinosaur is like a costume that you put on to feel protected. Okay, so a lot of the times when we go through trauma, we get impacted. Impacted means, that the trauma changes the way we used to be. Okay, so now I'm going to show you some images to try to help you understand some of the emotions that either you went through when you were in the detention center inside the cages, or maybe even emotions that you are feeling afterwards, okay?
Okay.
With this first image, what do you see Mickey as, or how do you see Mickey?
He looks a little frightened.
Okay.
Looks a little scared.
When we look at Mickey and you described him to be a little frightened and scared, does this remind you of any way that you might have felt in the past when you were in the cages?
Yeah, definitely being there and just being surrounded by a bunch of people that I didn't know.
Yeah. It must have felt ugly, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And even that emotion might have made you feel something like this. Would you describe this emotion for me?
Many look sad.
She looks sad, right? Would you say that you were feeling a little sad because you were taken away from your mother?
Yeah, I definitely was sad.
Now, while you were there at any point, did you experience this? So tell me what you see here.
She's crying, and I cried a lot. I did.
You cried a lot. It must have not been a great feeling, huh?
No, no, it wasn't.
So before you were here, after your experience, you've kind of covered yourself up, right?
Mhm.
Because you have all of these emotions and feelings that we were going through, right?
Mhm.
So would you say that when you try to sleep at times that you are easily frightened or startled?
Yeah, almost like when I was separated from my mom, like when I was pulled away from her, how that startled me, and I didn't know what was going on. So when someone either they could be, around me, do something or something drop, it makes me feel that same way that I felt when I was being pulled away from her.
Yeah. Wow. Now, just imagine this. Do you think it's comfortable to sleep in something like this?
No, that looks very uncomfortable.
Yeah. So imagine you being covered in this. Yeah, I could just imagine how uncomfortable that can be and how it'll definitely disturb your sleep. Okay. So, our goal in our future sessions, as we continue to process what you now know to be trauma, okay,
Hmm.
is we're trying to reach an ultimate goal. Okay. I'm going to show you one last image. Okay. Can you tell
Okay.
me what you see here?
Happiness. And they're hugging like they reunited.
Hmm. Now, does this remind you of anything?
It reminds me of me and my mom and knowing that I'll get to hug her again.
What you felt there was safety.
Hmm.
You felt safe again because you were finally reunited with that one person that made you feel safe, the person that you were stripped away from. Okay.
Hmm.
So as we go through our sessions, our goal is to try to make you feel safe once again. Okay. You are now with your mom, and your mom is your end goal. Okay. Safety is your end goal. So we want this to show once again, and this is the image that we want to go ahead and see. Okay?
Okay.
Would you say that you have a better understanding of what trauma is today?
Yes. Hmm.
Do
The
you have
pictures are very helpful for me too.
I'm glad they were. I try to incorporate them for you so that it can kind of help you understand some emotions or feelings that you were going through, because after a traumatic experience, sometimes it's difficult for us to make those connections.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Sharnice. Well, I look forward to seeing you next week. Again, if any questions that you need me to clarify right now, let me know. If not, then maybe you can jot them down for our next session so that we can go over that. Okay.
Okay, that works. Thank you.
Awesome. You have a good one.
Okay. My name is Sharnice. I will be working with Miguel. He's my client. Miguel is a single father who has a 10-year-old son. They left Venezuela to try to escape the violence that was going on there and the violence that was getting ready to directly impact their family. Miguel and his son were separated at the border. Miguel has no idea where his son is. No one knows where he is. He's not able to get any answers to any of his questions. He's feeling scared and hopeless. And ultimately, he's feeling like he failed as a father because he doesn't feel that right now he's protecting his son. So today I will be meeting with Miguel, um, kind of getting him to understand that right now that he's going through a traumatic experience, help him to understand what that is, and help guide him through, providing him some tools to get through that traumatic experience so that he knows that one day he will be able to see his son again. Hi, Miguel. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Um, so I know that you have been separated from your son recently. Can you tell me what that feels like for you?
It's it just feels horrible. I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye and to tell my son that hey, it's gonna be okay. It's just horrible the way they just took him away from me.
Okay. Um, can you tell me any emotions that you may be feeling right now?
Helpless, you
Okay.
know, hopeless, and I'm just afraid for my son.
Okay. So what you're actually you're going through right now is considered a traumatic experience. And when that happens, there's stress that happens to the body. There's changes in behavior. There's a rush of emotions and feelings. A lot of the emotions that are contributed to trauma are some that you said, like feeling hopeless, being sad, being disconnected, and having uh, your life just at a moment's notice be interrupted and changed, and you weren't able to prepare for it. That's traumatic. And when that happens, it's normal to respond the way that you have. It's normal to be angry. It's normal to get upset. It's normal to be afraid. It's normal to be scared. Like all of those emotions and everything that you feel right now, it's all normal. Um, but it's also really important for you to be able to talk through those feelings, to be able to talk through those emotions, so that you can move through the stressful point. Because what's the ultimate goal for you?
My ultimate goal is to get my son back.
Right. So in order to do that, you have to be able to talk through some of the stress that you're feeling and that you're going through. It's also complex, and it's difficult because you are surrounded by a bunch of people that aren't able to give you any answers. How do you think your son's feeling right now?
Can't even begin to imagine, but I would say, he's scared and he's probably crying and, he probably feels like I left him. Like
Hmm.
my fault. I feel like it's my fault, everything.
Right. But I also understand that the purpose of you guys leaving was to get away from things that were happening from in your country.
Yes.
Okay. So guilt is another symptom of a traumatic experience, especially if you felt like you played a role in what happened. So it's also normal to feel that, but it's also normal to for you as a parent to want to protect your child. And so in that moment, I want you to know that you were protecting your child by trying to get him away from danger. Um, what you guys are going through right now is something that literally was unexpected. Like you had no idea that would happen because you were trying to protect your son. So you would have never put him in a situation where um, you guys were displaced from each other, and now you're having to go through all of these emotions and this traumatic experience. Um, But what I wanted to do with you today is I wanted to try an exercise with you that'll help to ground you. Um, and it's used in stressful situations in times when there is extreme anxiety, fear, and it kind of helps to calm you. And then at the end of the exercise, as you calm down, you start to speak positive words to yourself, and what that's called is positive affirmations, and that helps you to speak positively, and to know that you're you're facing an experience, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. Is that something that you feel like you can try with me?
Yeah, definitely. I want to do everything and anything possible. Thank you.
Okay. So I want you to start by you first closing your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly exhale through your mouth. Okay, do that one more time for me. Breathe in, exhale out slowly. And breathe in and exhale out slowly. Okay, open your eyes for me. How did that feel?
Probably felt better than I felt in the last few days.
Okay, good. So now I'm gonna ask you another question. What what's the end goal for you right now?
I just want to feel better so that I can be concentrated, um, to be able to get my son back.
Okay. So let's say, would you agree with me in saying that this situation, this experience, is temporary for you?
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
Okay. So I want you to try this affirmation. Uh, this experience is temporary. Uh, I will see my son again.
This experience is temporary, and I will see my son again.
Okay. And I want you to say that a few more times, so, and until you feel it, until you feel like there's a change in your behavior, there's a change in your mood, until you feel like you can say that and really mean it.
This is only temporary, and I will see my son again. This is only temporary, and I will see my son again. This is only temporary, and I will see my son again.
Okay. Good. So, I think that if you practice that, whenever you have these moments where there's all of these emotions flooding your head, and during those times it might cause you to lash out on someone or be overly angry, just stop wherever you are, take that time so that you're breathing, and then repeat your positive affirmation so that it can help bring you back down to what you're currently in, that space that you're currently in, and what you're currently dealing with, so that you can think clearer, and do what is necessary, so that at the end of this day, you will be able to see your son again. So I want you to practice that for me. Practice that. Jot down times where, keep a journal so that you can jot down times where you feel like, I did it and it worked, or other times where you did it and it didn't work, so that we can tweak it. So this is affirmation that can be changed and can be modified, and you can be able to use it in different types of situations as you're working through your traumatic experience. How do you think that sounds?
That sounds great. Like I said, I felt great with the breathing, and yeah, it's definitely changed me today.
Okay, that sounds awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week and you telling me how that went for you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.